Hey everyone, I'm out here doing some Christmas, I wouldn't say Christmas shopping just yet, but just, taking care of some things prior to that, helping, helping a family out. But I wanted to come on here because, I talked about the fact that, Saturday night's main event was from the Nassau Coliseum. And basically, the Nassau Coliseum mainly sold out for Saturday night's main event, which people like JD from NY206 and others have, JD from NY206 of Off the Script, and others have basically said was a glorified house show. Now, what's interesting about it is, of course, they're going to be doing a lot of stuff going forward. I mean, right now, it sounds like they got people thinking that they're going to be probably stripping Cody Rhodes of the WWE Championship because of this potential injury, even though the x-rays, according to WWE, showed no fractures. They were all negative, and he's just been diagnosed with, compression of the spine and all that. And basically, he's not going to be on television until at least maybe the first Raw of the year on Netflix. That's what I'm thinking. That's what I'm thinking. But anyway, long story short, one of the things I mentioned towards the end there, and I even mentioned this in the super chat to the likes of JD and Solomonster and Just Alex and others, I super chatted them all the same thing. I mentioned that AEW ran the Nassau Coliseum recently. Well, actually, almost a year ago this month. A year will actually be, I think a year will be within a few weeks, basically around the same time that they have the next World's End, which is on the last Sunday of the month. But anyway, it's going to be a year basically come Monday the 30th. That's just my opinion. But anyway, I mentioned this, and JD answered, he answered by saying that he knows what I'm talking about because he was there with Andrew Baydella. Alex, of course, had the expression of, like, he held in his anger, like, you don't say a word kind of deal, something like that. Basically, he understood what I was talking about. And Solomon said he needed like a little bit of reminder, and myself and others kind of reminded him of the fact that World's End 2023 was at the Nassau Coliseum last year. And the reason I brought this up is because this glorified house show, as JD of Off the Script put it, basically outsold that pay-per-view by over 4,000 tickets. Because the pay-per-view sold 10,000 plus, which you would think is good. But the Nassau Coliseum can hold more than that. They can hold 16,000, if not more. They ended up selling out to the seating capacity that they had booked for it of 14,000, that being WWE, for Saturday night's main event's return, which again, people like, JD would say was a glorified house show. And, I look at that, and it makes me wonder, what does that say for AEW? Because the one thing I said in the super chat is, it shows how far AEW has fallen if basically not even within a year, almost a year, but not even within a year, you could have, the WWE outsell with basically a glorified house show, an over-the-air broadcast special and everything, a 2-hour show, 2-hour PLE that's basically, like a glorified Raw or SmackDown. What does that tell you about AEW if, if basically this glorified house show can outsell them by almost 5,000 tickets? What does that say about this, the state of the company? if not even within a year's time, that happens. I'll tell you what it says. It shows you how far they've fallen off. Have they had sellouts and stuff? Yeah, they've had sellouts. Don't get me wrong. I mean, for Sting's retirement, they sold out the Greensboro Coliseum. Obviously they're going to potentially sell out the Hammerstein Ballroom for Final Battle and Dynamite and Collision coming up. So those are good signs, but still, it's like, what does it tell you? What does it tell you if within a year, within not even a year, a week, a few weeks away from a year, but what does that say that from within the span of almost a year, just a few weeks off, what does that tell you when, the competition, which you say you're not competing with, but you are, outsells that same venue? What does that tell you? And what does it tell you when people like, let's say JD, come out and see what they did? Hey guys. Yeah, so just continuing off what I did in the other video. I was going to do this while I was waiting for the bus, but then somebody showed up to wait for the bus as well. But this guy obviously had some issues. Thankfully, he took the 40 bus to Modesto, Grayson, and Wesley. And the bus I took, of course, was here to Newman. But like I was saying previously, before I had to, I guess you say, stop because of interruption. What does it say? For AEW, when you have someone like a JD from NY206 of Off the Script, Just Alex of Alex's World, formerly the Lex Man, Solomon stuff, Jason Solomon and Solomon stuff sounds off, and everybody else. What's it say when they come out and basically acknowledge that World's End, which took place in the same venue just about a year ago, within a few weeks, basically within a week from this Sunday, I believe, because this Sunday is what, the, let's see, 19th is my last day seasonally at work, 20th, 25th, yeah, 22nd. I think it's the 22nd. So, what does that tell you? That, when basically all these content creators, go out of the way and they say that a glorified house show in Saturday night's main event this past Saturday sold out, the Nassau Coliseum, the same venue, that World's End, a year, which World's End 2023, which will mark it a year to a week from this Sunday on the 29th. What does that say when a glorified house show outsells that event, not even a year away from its, anniversary, and not even a year away from it basically having its second World's End event? Or is it third World's End? I can't remember. I think it's second. I think it's the second World's End. Correct me if I'm wrong. But again, what does that tell you? It tells you that AEW needs to get their act together. Tony Khan needs to get his act together. I mean, when you have reports now that even the talent is appalled by Tony's, actions, basically saying that no matter what they try to tell him, he's not going to listen. Basically, he's pulling a Vince McMahon, on them. I mean, because one of the biggest criticisms he's gotten now is why would you book one of the biggest female talents in your women's division, Toni Storm, who's going through an amnesia story, if you will. Like, she remembers, but she doesn't. She thinks she's back in 2022, but it's 2024, and all that. It's like, why would you book, someone like her with a story that has the potential to be good, of her basically trying to, get her memories jogged back to where she could be the Toni Storm that we see, but also still have a bit of that timeless in her as well. It's like, why would you book her return match on Rampage, a show that's going to go away at the beginning of the year, or at least around that time frame, why would you do that? And, basically, waste, an opportunity to do it on the World's End pay-per-view, or Collision that you're trying to build back up, or even a Dynamite. Why would you waste it on a Rampage? It doesn't make any sense. Unless Tony wants to try to keep Rampage going, and this is like some last-ditch effort by putting talents like her and Ricochet and others on there. And if that's the case, he should just come out and say it. He should just come out and say it. But it's things like that. That are making AEW look bad. And you also got to look at it this way too. If a glorified house show in Saturday night's main event can outsell by 5,000 tickets, outsell the same venue that AEW sold 10,000 plus tickets for a pay-per-view, what is that going to say about AEW when on the same night, a week from this Sunday, on the 29th, you're going to have AEW World's End at a smaller venue in Orlando, not the Kia Forum, with the former, not the Kia Center, I think. Is it called Kia Center now? Formerly the Orlando Arena, or the former American Amway's Arena, whatever it's called. Home of the Orlando Magic. What is it going to say if a non-televised house show, part of the holiday tour for WWE, post-Christmas holiday tour, what is it going to say for AEW if reports come out that more tickets and more people attended that live event at the Kia Center than those attending World's End? What is that going to say about All Elite Wrestling in the state that it's in? It's going to say that AEW pretty much, might as well enjoy the notoriety it's going to get in the next 4 years with this new deal, because unless they get, the butts in gear, this nice 4-year deal they have, which includes simulcasting on Max for the shows, as well as basically purchasing at a discounted price the pay-per-views, I'll tell you what it's going to say. It's going to say basically that AEW, is pretty much in the gutter. And then that nice 4-year deal may not even last 4 years. It's going to basically, go probably less than that. Because, what's ironic is I was looking this, I wasn't looking it up, but what's ironic is I was talking about this last time when I was talking about AEW status. It's stated, the state that it's in. And I mentioned that there have been rumors that Zaslav would want to sell parts of WB. Well, guess what? Ironically, more reports have started to come out of Zaslav considering selling parts of WB, but primarily parts that might include, AEW and what it's part of, and what it's part of, TBS, TNT, maybe Max, True TV. There are parts of the WBD network or family of networks and channels that, could be part of the sale. And if that happens, if that occurs, if that becomes a reality, what does that do for AEW? I tell you what it does. Whoever the new owners would be, as I've said before, will look at the decline of AEW and say, nope, we don't want it. Get it off TBS, get it off TNT, get it off Max. We don't want it. It's not doing good. The views aren't there. The streaming views aren't there. The attendance is low. We don't want it. Basically, what will happen is WCW 2001 all over again, or WCW 2001 all over again, when AOL merged with the WB, and basically they were making and calling the final shots, and they said we didn't want WCW anymore. They didn't want it. Heck, even when Eric Bischoff said he was going to buy it, they didn't want to give him the time slot because they thought it was worthless. That is particularly what AEW is going to be ending up as if they don't get their act together, if a sale goes through where the portion of the WB, and I do apologize for that notification there, but well, a portion of the WB gets sold, and that portion could include the networks, the channels that AEW is on. You know, and the outlets, you know, like the streaming outlets like Max that AEW is on. You know, it could include them, and then guess what happens? AEW won't have a home anymore. They won't have a home anymore, and these new owners might even put out the word, hey, don't put these guys on your networks or your streaming services. They don't bring in the eyes anymore. You know, they don't bring in the big bucks anymore. You know, so, you know, again, they got to do something. They got to do something, because if Zaslav decides he's going to sell parts of WB, you know, WBD, and parts of those and those parts include, like I say, the outlets, channels, and streaming that AEW is on. Again, AEW's future doesn't look good. It doesn't look good. So, you know, what does it? So yeah, what does it tell you? So again, going back to the topic of this, what does it tell you when you have a glorified house show and Saturday Night's Main Event outsell a pay-per-view not even a year after that pay-per-view, you know, took place in the same venue? I'm just saying. And what is it going to say if a non-televised, you know, actual house show, part of the holiday tour, you know, part of the holiday tour, I guess you could say extravaganza or road show, whatever they call it, you know, the house show there, what's it going to tell you if that outsells, you know, the World's End, and you know, that takes place in another venue in the same city? What is that going to tell you? It's going to tell you that AEW is in trouble, and Tony Khan just does not want to admit it. And you know what's going to happen? If what I said is true, and the networks and streaming service that WBD sells, you know, gets sold to new owners, and they say they don't want nothing to do with AEW, and they make sure AEW doesn't see another, you know, outlet to, you know, or basically they alert other outlets not to take AEW in, you know what's going to happen? AEW is going to cease to be, and before you know it, you're going to see Tony Khan on WWE television given a mic and basically told to explain himself, and he's going to come out and say, well, I was only doing what you fans, you, my fellow fans, said you could do better. That's what's going to happen. You're going to have Tony Khan get hired by WWE, and he's going to be made into a heel character to where he's going to blame his fellow fans for making him create AEW because they just don't know when to keep their mouth shut. I guarantee you that's what's going to happen. And then all the talent that was former WWE talent, they're going to end up back there, and they're going to be put into backstage segments with a face-to-face with maybe some of the general managers, but mostly with Triple H. And they're going to have to basically look him in the eye and in front of the world, eat a big piece of humble pie and go like, okay, you were right, I was wrong, I'll just, you know, do what I got to do, you know. Or they're just going to eat that humble pie and then admit, look, man, we left because all we want to do is just do our thing. And if you give us a chance, you know, it might pay off. And if not, hey, we'll do it your way. You know, that's what it's going to lead towards. That's what it's going to lead towards. And Tony Khan doesn't see it. Tony Khan is too stubborn to see it. And again, the big potential nail, or first big nail in the coffin of AEW's future, is going to come, you know, December 29th. If the WWE live, non-televised live house show, the holiday tour show, out at the Kia Center, outsells the pay-per-view World's End that takes place in another venue almost right down the street. That's going to be the final, like, nail right in the coffin, if you catch my drift. Or first big nail right into the coffin of AEW's future and potential, you know, downward spiral into, you know, extinction. And here's the thing, like anybody else, I don't want that to happen, you know, so I hope they get their act together. And if not, yeah, it doesn't look good. It doesn't look good. Because again, what does it say when not even a year after it took place within the same venue, a glorified house show in Saturday Night's Main Event outsells that same venue that the World's End pay-per-view took place in not even a year before? And we're going on a year within 2 weeks. What does that say? But let me know what your thoughts are, guys. Comment down below, like the video, subscribe to the channel. Again, I do apologize for that notification there. But again, ring the bell for notifications, and subscribe to the channel. Like the video. Also check out my Teespring store for merchandise you can't get anywhere else. Get yourself or somebody else you love a gift for Christmas at the Teespring store. Also check me out at deviantart.com at BVW1979 and click on the links where you can find my content elsewhere. But guys, give me your thoughts, and until then, I'm out.